Meanwhile, Democrats won back the House in the midterm elections, wasted no time in declaring their top priority. It is gun control.
This will be a priority for us in the next Congress. Common sense background checks to prevent guns going into wrong hands.
We will certainly pursue sensible gun control legislation as one of our priorities.
We have a chance to say loud and clear that the gun lobby is no longer in charge of our gun laws.
Here to react is NRA spokesperson Dana Loesch. Dana, what is your reaction when you hear all of that?
Oh, well, Ainsley and Brian and Steve, good morning to you all. When I hear Nancy Pelosi say that, I hear someone who's talking about the failed gun control laws in her state, and she discusses expanding them nationally as though that's going to be the magical ingredient that makes those work. And as we've seen time and time again, it doesn't, in fact, help. It doesn't make it work. And they can talk about pushing forward anti-gun legislation in the House, but let's think of all of the 2A victories that law-abiding gun owners won just in the past elections, and law-abiding gun owners spent significantly less dollars than the anti-gun movement, which is mostly funded by people like Michael Bloomberg. I mean, we don't have, a really rich sugar daddy, for the lack of a better way to put it, to go and fund this. We're just millions of people who want to make sure that our rights to self-defense, our Second Amendment rights, are protected. And so as a result of that, I mean, when you look at the results, I mean, for instance, the House candidates, 80% of NRA-endorsed House candidates won those races. 85% of NRA-endorsed candidates won races statewide, and we added and extended that Senate majority. So, I mean, we have divided houses, divided state legislatures across the country, and I think it goes to show that Nancy Pelosi really doesn't, I mean, she's really not in tune with what Americans want. When you look at the gun control movement, which I guess ground zero was Florida, those expectations didn't even materialize in the results. So she's going to have a hard fight ahead of her because gun owners aren't going to allow it.
Well, one of the things, Dana, that Fox News did on Election Day was we surveyed over 100,000 people coast to coast. And 61% of the voters said they wanted stricter gun laws. 61%. 8% wanted less strict laws. So what does that tell you about where America's head is right now?
I think that there's also a lot of confusion to that point, Steve, in terms of what we actually do have, the laws that we do have and the laws that we don't. I mean, for instance, a lot of people don't realize, apparently, that we do have background checks. We have existing background checks. And when you talk about universal background checks, well, unfortunately, when you look at the tragedies that have taken place previously in California, universal background checks were in place and didn't prevent any of those things. And we also have a lot of flaws and errors that, in terms of administratively, into the system at that level, state by state level. So the thing is that, look, you have to enforce the laws that we have, and that actually isn't being done consistently. That is one of the common denominators in every single one of these tragedies. You have missed opportunities to prevent people who should not be having access from having access, and furthermore, you have procedures that are not followed consistently across the board. And this is, as I said, the common denominator in every single one of these tragedies. And law-abiding people should not always be paying the price for the actions of criminals. It makes no sense to disarm moms and dads across the country, men and women across the country, and make them more susceptible to threats because a criminal is going to abuse the law, break the law, and get illegal access.